video is for the Beta Club students who miss Monday. We're going to start with number 10. 6y plus z equals bc minus 2y, and we're solving for y. This is the sheet that's titled 3-8, Solving Equations and Formulas. So this is just the rest of that page. So to solve for y, we need to get all of the y terms on the same side. So I'm going to start by adding 2y to both sides. On the left side, we get 8y plus z, and on the right side, we get bc. Now what we're going to do is we're going to subtract z from each side. We get 8y is equal to bc minus z. The final step is to divide each side by the coefficient of y, and we get y equals bc minus z over 8. On each one of these, we're going to check our answer against what they have on the page, because sometimes they make it look slightly different, and we might have to manipulate our answer to make sure that it is the same as the answer they gave. In 10, they have the exact same thing that we have, so we can move on to number 11. In number 11, we're solving for y, and the problem is 3x minus 4y is equal to 7. So to get this alone, we need to get rid of the 3x on this side. So to get rid of the 3x, we're going to use the inverse operation. So we subtract 3x. On the left side, we're left with negative 4y. On the right side, we have 7 minus 3x. Final step, divide each by a negative 4. So y is equal to 7 minus 3x divided by negative 4. Now, when you look at the answer on the answer sheet for this, it looks different. So for number 11, what they have written for the answer is y equals 3x minus 7 over 4. And I'm going to show you how we can manipulate what we have so that it looks just like this. They are equivalent. So the first thing I want to do is I want to write 7 minus 3x is 7 plus a negative 3x. And I want to remind you that according to the commutative property of addition, I can switch the order of these. So I can write this as negative 3x plus 7 over negative 4. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece and divide it by a negative 1. So negative 3x divided by negative 1 is 3x. 7 divided by a negative 1 is a negative 7. And to check your work, you can always go back and use the distributive property and make sure that you get what you had originally. I'm also going to take a negative 1 out of the 4. And the negative 1 over the negative 1 cancel. Anything over itself is equal to 1, and we are left with 3x minus 7 over positive 4, which is the answer that they gave. So our answer was also correct. All right, now we're looking at number 12. For 12, oops, not 18. For 12, we're looking at s equals n over 2 times a plus t, and we're solving for n. In this case, to help you review for your quiz on Friday, I want you to clear the fraction. To clear the fraction, you multiply each side by the denominator. So over here, I'm going to multiply by 2. N over 2 times 2, these cancel, and I'm left with n because 2 over 2 is equal to 1. On the left side, we get 2s. Now, the only thing keeping the n from being alone is a plus t, and n is being multiplied by a plus t. So we use the inverse operation, and we divide by a plus t. So we get n is equal to 2s over a plus t. And then we look at the answer for number 12 and see if we need to do any more work. And here it says n equals 2s over a plus t, which is exactly what we have, so we can move on to number 13. All right, number 13, v equals 4/3 r. We need to solve for r. To do so, you can either divide by 4/3 or you can multiply by the reciprocal. Both are really the same action because when you divide by something, you're going to have to keep, change, flip. And it'll be the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. On the right side, we get 12 over 12r is equal to 3/4 v. 12 over 12 is equal to 1, so we get 1r equals 3/4 v. And that is the answer on the sheet. So let's move on to 14. Number 14, w equals mgh. Now, you can do this in sets. We're solving for g, and I could divide by m on its own, and divide by h on its own, or I could do both at the same time. So I'm going to divide by mh. What that does is that's going to cancel, and we're going to be left with g because m over m equals 1 and h over h equals 1. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other to maintain equality. So we get g is equal to w over mh. Number 15. PV equals nRT. This is very similar to the last problem. We're solving for V. P and V are separated by multiplication, so to get rid of P, we divide. P divided by P equals 1, so we get 1V equals nRT over P. Number 16. Number 16, G equals F minus D. We are solving for D, so we're going to start by getting rid of F. So we subtract F for each side using the inverse operation. We get G minus F equals negative D. Then we divide by the coefficient of D. The coefficient of D is a negative 1. G divided by negative 1 is negative G. Negative F divided by negative 1 is positive F. Now on your worksheet, it says that the answer is F minus G. Well, according to the commutative property of addition, you can switch the order. And then you can see that plus a negative is the same as subtracting. So this is what they had on your paper, and it's the same as what we had. All right, so we just finished 16. Let's move on to 17. Number 17, 6t plus 62s equals 1/2 of 3t minus 42s. So we can either clear the fractions here, or we could go ahead and multiply through the 1/2 times 3t times a negative 42. It doesn't matter. This time let's go ahead and multiply through. So 1/2 of 3t is 3/2 t, or you could say 1.5t. 1/2 of negative 42 is negative 21s. On the left side, we get 6t plus 62s. Now we need to get all of the s terms on one side and all of the t terms on the other. So I'm going to subtract 1.5t, subtract 1.5t. On the left side, we get 4.5t plus 62s equals negative 21s, because 1.5t minus 1.5t is equal to 0. Then we're going to subtract 62s from each side. On the left side, we are left with 4.5t. On the right side, we get a negative 83s. And then what we're going to do is we're going to divide each side by the coefficient of s, because we're trying to get s alone in this problem. Oh, wait a second. I'm looking back at the paper, and are we on 17? Yeah, 17. It actually says to solve for t. I'm sorry about that. So we're actually going to divide by 4.5. 4.5, and we get t equals negative 83 over 4.5s. When we divide that, we're just going to get another decimal. And the issue here is that our answer on the paper is not in decimal form. So the answer is 18, negative 18.4 repeating. So we have two options. We can either go from here and change this back to a fraction, or we can go back to here and operate in fractions. I'm going to go back to this stage right here, and I'm going to write out negative 83 divided by 4 1/2. 4 1/2 I'm going to change to an improper fraction. 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1 is 9, so I get 9/2. I'm going to write negative 83 as a fraction. Then negative 83 divided by 1, I keep, I change, I flip. Okay. Then I take 83, negative 83, and I multiply it by 2, and I get negative 166. And 1 times 9, I get 9. So this you can write instead of that, I forget what it was now, it was negative 18.44. So it's that with an s attached to it is equal to t. And we look at our answer sheet for number 17. And the answer is negative 166s over 9, which is what we have. All right, we are out of time on this video.